Hello guys! Welcome back to Not Just Mecha. It's Marco here, and today I'll answer one of the most common questions I get. What books should I read to become a better painter? Before being miniature painters, we are painters, and as painters, we can tap into the endless pool of academic knowledge about painting that's already out there, ready for us to grab. So I'm going to show you the current state of my ever-growing painting library and my favorite books for references and artistic knowledge. And my bookshelf is literally split in two macro categories. Purely visual for inspiration and references, and technical/information based, so less pictures and more words. When I started writing this ideally short video, it became immediately a huge monster. So I had to cut it in 2 episodes, and you'll get the second part about the academic titles as bonus content in the next few weeks. So don't worry, I'm not keeping secrets from you guys.
Let's start with Spectrum, which I think it's the perfect first running publication for a new shelf without a clear and super defined, let's call it art direction. Every year you get a new tome with the best of the fantasy and sci-fi art of the last 12 months, and a random taste of hundreds of extremely different visions and styles. So again, perfect for when you start discovering and digging into this stuff. Or if you want to build a free-flowing, open-ended mental library of cool, miscellaneous imagery. We are currently at number 27, waiting for the new tome to drop around fall 2023. Still extremely polyhedric, but with a tighter visual identity, and all based on classic and high fantasy concepts. Here is my collection of Magic the Gathering artbooks that has quickly become one of my favorite editorial lines because of a few essential key features. First of all, most of this art is character-based. That's much more useful for us than the one you can find in video games artbooks that usually give you mostly environments and non-contextualized concept art of the characters floating on empty white backgrounds. It's also thematically organized, based on the different planes and their aesthetic. So if you need horror stuff, you can go to Innistrad. Dinosaurs and Pirates? Ixalan. Eldritch Creatures? Zendikar. My personal favorite is Ravnica, for its great spread of different characters and incredibly different cool sub-themes. They are also basically color-coded, thanks to the visual clues of the colors of mana. Do you need a positive druid? White-green combo, aka Selesnya. Or maybe a devilish druid. Shift to the black-green theme, aka Golgari. Really easy to navigate and to locate the mood and vibe you are looking for. Last interesting feature, because it's shrunk to fit a tiny card, original Magic the Gathering art tends to be relatively small, and when you blow it up to this scale, you can really see every single brushstroke, in the same way you can do it studying a miniature up close, so extremely useful for our translation on tiny figures. And as you can see here, a few simple brushstrokes can really deliver a ton of complex information.
When you know better what you like or what you need, you can move to monographic art books.
Let's start with a big name that doesn't need introductions. Frazetta, the man that in the 60s set a bar for fantasy art that nobody is still able to surpass. His painted production has literally everything. Great, thoughtful compositions, incredible cinematic light settings, crazy but always well-balanced color palettes, an overload of power and energy, and a bunch of clear and engaging storytelling. Always keep Frazetta next to the painting table, because you cannot go wrong sitting on the shoulders of this giant. And here is an apparently strange jump that hides a similar idea. I know, referencing Caravaggio in the context of miniature painting may seem a bit pretentious, but why not? Painting is painting, and if I have to learn from someone, why not aiming high? I am deeply conscious that these kinds of divine skill levels are out of my reach, but setting a high aspirational standard is motivating, and wherever I land, it will be higher than studying other people's miniatures. I keep close to Frazetta, Boris Vallejo, and Julie Bell. Visionary 80s fantasy and sci-fi art, painted with oils on canvas, with sensual, warm, suggestive lights, great female characters, and grounded, anatomically correct muscle bodies, as you can expect from two artists that were almost professional bodybuilders. Brom is for me the artistic avatar of the 90s dark and gothic fantasy and sci-fi, so generationally and aesthetically tied to my soul. This book gives you in every single page cool characters in powerful frontal views, always staged in interesting and complex light settings. Personally, I'm in love with Brom's huge spectrum and control of textures, and his complex, believable rendering of every possible material that he uses to produce depth, movement, and internal contrast. Paul Bonner is one of the artists that visually shaped the gaming and miniature gaming industry in the last 30 years. He made a ton of work for Games Workshop, Rackham, and the Confrontation universe, Mutant Chronicles, a bunch of RPGs. The shots and atmospheres he creates can easily be movie frames full of storytelling. Everything has volume and a real sense of weight, and even the craziest anatomies and designs become grounded in reality under his brush and his deep understanding of shapes. Female characters are my painterly weak spot. Years of work on muscled warriors, crazy monsters, and bloodthirsty creatures left me with a kinetic, nervous take on brushstrokes that doesn't fit extremely well more delicate subjects, so I'm working on lightening my hand. This Korean artist is unapologetically super horny, but he renders amazing eyes, makeup, and subtle expressions. Still, soon I'll probably have to hide this book from my son. Ashley Wood is on the shelves for my cross love for painting, drawing, and comics. In this particular moment, it ties in well with my problem with gentle traits, because his ability to sell femininity with a few extremely aggressive brushstrokes, even if complex to translate on figures, gives me a bit of personal hope. Plus, you get a ton of moody atmospheres, and cool painted robots and action scenes. Almost last, but for sure not least, Patrick J. Jones, that I had the pleasure to meet in person a couple of months ago at the World Model Expo. The nicest guy ever, even when assaulted by a crazy fanboy. Patrick Jones is for me the closest to Frazetta's sensibility, with a taste for complex and crazy environmental light settings, that bounce and reverberate on the figures, becoming way more than a storytelling device, and more like a whole new character on the page. So, if you like a strong relation between a model and its gaming or display base, you can't go wrong with Patrick's art.
I'm going to close strong in chronological order with two books that arrived just a few days ago.
The Big Kopinski, by, of course, the living legend Karl Kopinski. Another guy that, in the fantasy and sci-fi environment, worked literally with and for everyone, creating the aesthetic of games like Warhammer. I always keep close his box art of the Empire Soldiers. I miss painted boxes so much. You get a good selection of full-body characters, drawn and colored using several different media, but the bulk of the book is made by sketches that I find extremely useful for my investigation of shapes, volumes, and how to render them purely with values. So great to improve my game on sketching and underpainting techniques. And following the breadcrumbs of Magic the Gathering art, I discovered that one of my favorite recurring names, aka this guy, I will not even try because I know I'll butcher the name, has his own monographic book, and that he produced also a ton of familiar art from Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, and dozens of other games. Other than the style and aesthetic of his art, that I really like, as incarnation of modern commercial fantasy art. I love the fact that he works mostly on physical media, in a relative small scale, and in acrylics, making these paintings that share our same tools, mannerism and visual goals, absolutely perfect for a retro engineering deconstruction and general study.
Of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg of all the cool stuff that you can find out there. And I would love to know about the tomes you have in your library. So drop your titles in a comment, both for the community and myself, because I'm always looking for an excuse to buy a book. See you soon with the second half of my collection and the more technical, nerdy side of learning about painting. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe. Remember that you can ask me anything down below with a comment, and you can follow my projects during the week using one of my socials. And if you want to support my work, check my Patreon page and join the community, or maybe ask for a commission. See you next week, guys!